In the hyper-real worlds of tomorrow, many people will simply transfer their jobs over, at least partially. Some people will create entirely new jobs that will only exist there. I'm afraid most people will probably still sit on their butts at home and play games, while their real-world body atrophies and begins to dissolve into their couch.
This is BOESCHLIT. Good morning, I'm Kurt Balderdash, and this is BOESCHLIT, your bi-weekly business and technology podcast that produces more cleaning power than a Brillo pad glued to a porcupine's back. But first, here's what's percolating our cowboy coffee today. Despite being at the heart of the problem, the FCC and the FAA are keeping cowardly silent on the serious dispute between airlines, aircraft manufacturers, and 5G cellular service providers in their tussle on the safety of 5G service near airports. Airlines claim the nearby cell towers could interfere with an aircraft's altimeter as it approaches for a landing. The regulatory bodies that exist for just such a scenario have issued no definitive comments and are probably in Florida enjoying a maskless vacation. Amazon is planning to open a clothing store in a Glendale, California mall sometime this year. Amazon already sells more than 10% of all clothing in the U.S. The store will offer more than double the number of styles because only one of each piece of clothing will be on display. A display that no doubt will be smash-proof glass and secured under lock and key to avoid current large city shopping trends. M&Ms candy is about to get more so-called inclusive. Mars Incorporated, the candy's maker, announced Thursday a global commitment to creating a world where everyone feels they belong and society is inclusive. The obsequious candy maker wishes to increase the sense of belonging for 10 million people around the world by 2025. This presumably means that they wish to increase their sales by sucking up to people with low self-esteem. Worldwide. The Hong Kong police force has been ordered to adopt Chinese goose-stepping. The order came from the Chinese Communist Party's Ministry of Silly Walks and has been made to lift patriotism among the Hong Kong police. Hong Kong says the asinine prancing will continue until morale improves. Apparently the beatings are not working. In addition to increasing the incidence of lower back problems, the daily dance routines are supposed to mark 25 years since the UK signed over the oasis of democracy to Communist China, which in typical fashion reneged on the deal and stole it back 26 years early. And speaking of China, with less than 2 weeks to go before the Winter Olympics, Beijing city health authorities have resumed the use of anal swabs to check for infections. Although the accuracy of this technique is considered far less than nasal swabbing, Chinese officials require this procedure anyway, largely because it is consistent with how they treat their people in every other facet of their lives. In the past year, something called MiamiCoin was started up by a group of people apparently not directly associated with the city of Miami. The crypto coin lives on the Bitcoin blockchain and is enabled through a private service called CityCoin that enables smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain, which is not normally equipped to perform such activities. Although MiamiCoin is named after Miami, the city is not directly involved in its creation or management. If you are confused, here's Peter Dongle to confuse you further.
According to a company called CityCoins, the City of Miami is not a partner, but has the option of tapping into a crypto wallet that's been set up for them if they choose to accept it. The creation of a CityCoin is supposedly a grassroots effort, so anyone with sufficient resources could create one for their community, without the apparent permission of that community. We are speaking with Cryptomaniac, a pseudonym and not his real name. Is this a legitimate crypto coin?
Absolutely. It's as real as anything these days.
As I understand it, the idea is to sell the CityCoin to residents, which then becomes a backhanded way for the city to raise revenue. That is, if the city chooses to accept it. This sounds very dodgy.
The city can get a percentage of the revenue which hopefully will appreciate in time. It's like a group of people getting together to start a charity for a city. MiamiCoin uses something called stacks, which is kind of a token used for internal purposes. At any time, that token can be converted to bitcoins.
But a city doesn't own the coins. It doesn't even own the crypto wallet where the coins reside. According to the CityCoins website, 30% of the STX, those stacks tokens you mentioned, that miners forward in order to compete in the earning of MiamiCoin will go directly to the wallet reserved for the city. The city of Miami may decide at any time to claim the wallet's funds. Why aren't cities involved directly in the creation and management of these coins?
It could be a mixture of reasons. Maybe they don't like the risk. Maybe there are laws against such a thing. Maybe they are confused by the value proposition of the coin.
Or maybe they have no idea what it is or how it truly works. Sounds questionable.
Well, a lot of these financial experiments sound that way. And that's what I call them, financial experiments. There's so much new going on that it's hard to keep up with it all. One day there's a bright shiny object out there like a new coin that doubles in value every hour, and the next day it's worth the paper it's printed on.
But they aren't printed on any paper.
Exactly. If they were, at least you could use them to light a cigar.
So what is the attraction for people buying these CityCoins?
At face value, it raises money for a community, so it's voluntary taxation like a lottery. But if it appreciates in value, the contribution effectively grows over time, and that makes people feel warm and fuzzy inside.
And if it goes down?
They don't feel a thing, especially if they just buy it and forget it, like lottery tickets.
Is it considered a tax-deductible charitable contribution?
I don't think so. And since there is no initial market for it, it's more like giving a few bucks to a wino. You might hope they spend it wisely, but it's likely going for $2 chuck.
You mean someone could give money to their city, and if it increases in value, and they cash out, they are taxed on it?
I'm not an accountant, but I believe so. Municipal bonds, on the other hand, are famous for their non-taxable status.
Why would anyone buy these?
Why do people buy clothing a size too small for themselves? It makes them feel good. They look like fools, but hey, it's their money.
Thank you, Cryptomaniac.
And speaking of cryptocurrency, let's see what's happening in the market this week.
Ouch. You're listening to BOESCHLIT. Swinging into Save the Day.
Mark Zuckerberg's Meta company has filed what could be called a schlit ton of patents recently, all around the Metaverse. With BOESCHLIT Business News, I'm Anita Martini. The patents involve technologies such as face tracking, the gathering and uses of biometric data, hyper-targeted advertising, tracking facial expressions, and an avatar personalization tool called a skin replicator. The apparent goal is to create 3D replicas of people, objects, and surroundings that are so realistic they will be indistinguishable from what's actually real. Once a user walks into this virtual world, they will be subjected to all sorts of highly customized ads popping up like comical flowers in a Warner Brothers cartoon from hell. According to one researcher from the University of Western Australia, Meta can be thought of as undertaking a global human cloning program. We recently spoke to Dr. Alfred Benavar, of the Brave New Virtual World Society. Dr. Benavar, how realistic will this be?
Very. Eventually it'll be so realistic that you will no longer be able to tell the difference between what you are seeing and hearing and what you call reality, providing your reality isn't as a sewer worker.
What will people do in these hyper-realistic spaces?
In the hyper-real worlds of tomorrow, many people will simply transfer their jobs over, at least partially. Some people will create entirely new jobs that will only exist there. I'm afraid most people will probably still sit on their butts at home and play games, while their real-world body atrophies and begins to dissolve into their couch.
That doesn't sound very healthy.
It isn't, but thankfully there will be a real-world service that will come to your house, check on the intravenous feeding system, provide physical therapy, and change your diaper. All the time you'll be blissfully unaware of it.
Late last year, I did a story from the Metaverse, and I must say I wasn't very impressed. Meetings never went smoothly, productivity was low due to distractions, and the vertigo was stomach-bending.
That is all true, but one way they hope to overcome these problems is through the use of gamification. Meetings, research, and communication will all be gamified. For every little task you perform, your compression vest will simulate a warm hug. Plus, you will get special tokens that you can use to buy clothing, houses, and cars, just like the real world.
How useful is that?
Very, if your avatar is naked, homeless, and has to walk to work.
As people spend more time in these virtual spaces, won't they lose track of what it's like to be in the real world? Won't they miss their family, or friends, or parks, or cities, or travel, things like that?
Not if all those things are in the virtual world. One day there will be no need for those things.
No need for family or friends.
I meant no need for parks, cities, and travel. They can all be simulated. In the real world, they will be quietly dismantled and left for Mother Nature to reclaim. And as for family and friends, they could choose to have their personalities digitally cloned. In that way, they will be immortal, and you can see them any time you wish, even if they have already decomposed into their recliner at home.
That's pretty creepy. In fact, it sounds more like a nightmare.
Even nightmares will be a thing of the past.
Will there be some electronic way to ensure everyone has only sweet dreams?
Oh no, there will be no nightmares because you will never sleep. The VR headsets will monitor various chemical messengers in your brain and adjust them accordingly so sleep is no longer necessary.
I don't think that will work. The brain needs sleep to repair itself. Without sleep, people get loopy and some can go insane.
Well, we will see. Every experiment has its risks. People who develop mental issues can be forked off to a special virtual world that is designed to treat their problems. It will be made entirely out of a calming shade of light blue, with the distant sounds of footsteps right behind them, getting closer and closer, but never quite reaching them.
Doctor, how will Meta make money? Meta makes most of its money on advertising, and I assume this will still hold true.
Oh, yes, and the ads will be better than ever. They will be completely tailored to you and whatever mood you're in. If you are happy, you will see ads for clothing. If you are sad, you will see ads for travel. Ads will be available 24/7 to you because, of course, you won't be sleeping. Ads can be on huge billboards floating in the sky or on virtual coffee cups you hold in your virtual hand, and they'll be on every petal of every flower. It will be an amazing job.
Yes, I see. Well, thank you, Doctor.
You are most welcome. By the way, is that you walking behind me?
Excuse me?
Well, I hear these footsteps. I just thought it was you, coming from right behind me. They sound like they're getting closer and closer. Yeah, I think they're coming from over here. Hello? Hello?
And finally, the average price of a car in the United States is over $47,000. Last fall, it was just $40,000. The increase in car prices is astronomical, and even if you can get a car you want, there is a decent chance it won't have all the chips in it that it needs to perform every feature that you've paid for. Some cars and trucks are sitting in fields owned by dealers and manufacturers, gathering mice while waiting for their chips to arrive. As you know, the used car market is also out of whack, vehicles with high mileage fetching the same price as low-mile cars used to. An average no-frill 8-year-old pickup with over 100,000 miles is going for above $40,000. Where will it all end? In the Metaverse, of course. where you can get a new car for only 2,000 magical woo-woo coins. Wait, that's 2,500 magical woo-woo coins. No, make that 3,000 magical woo-woo coins. That's all for now. Join us again next time. Different day, same BOESCHLIT.